This is a project I have been wanting to do for a long time. This is a Craftsman hand drill or an Eggbeater drill, and a fun thing to take apart. A lot of it was just trying to figure out how to take it apart. Some of it is very obvious, a screw gets unscrewed. Some of it was a little bit more difficult in that I was trying to get this main gear off and then the handle out. I found that if I got a screwdriver and used it to actually just pry the gear out, once the screw was on, there's just so much grease and gunk that the main gear had to be forced off. A little bit of brute force and violent manipulation will get you a long way. The handle unscrewed after pushing a pin out, but then the smaller gear also had to come off of the frame, and that went through the main shaft. I found that there was a small pin that I had to push out. I just got a set and a small hammer, pushed the pin through, got a pair of pliers to pull it out the rest of the way, and was able to then pull the main shaft off of the smaller gear. I like taking as much apart as possible. It gives you a better chance of actually cleaning it. Once I got everything apart, I used a little bit of WD-40 and a rag to clean out grease and sawdust and grime that had been caked onto this. You could tell that it had been sitting on its side in a shelf for years. Then put it into a plastic vat and dump on some vinegar. I don't add any salt. I just like straight white vinegar. I buy these liters for, I think it's like 25 cents a liter. So that's dirt cheap stuff, and I'll use it several times before throwing it out. So you can get multiple uses. I will then cut it 50-50 with water. This is actually an old vinegar bath that I dumped in, so that's why it's rusty colored. Usually you can get about 3 or 4 out of that. Now you notice that there's a few things still sticking up above, and I will just use a rag to put over that, and that will wick the fluid up onto the material. And as long as it has close contact, it will do the exact same thing. All of the shellac on the handle I wanted to take off. It was chipping, it wasn't looking very great. And I found if you just use the side of a chisel or a Phillips screwdriver or even a small scraper, it comes right off really quickly, about 5 minutes and it's done. Sometimes I use the sanding block to get into some of the surfaces, but for the most part, 95 to 98% of the time, I just use a chisel. Once everything comes out of the bath, I give it a good scrub down. And I like to actually work into everything with a wire brush and make sure it's all cleaned. I have to be very careful at this time because it is all wet. As long as it's wet, it's not going to rust. But the moment you let it sit out and let the water evaporate from the surface, it will rust instantly. So immediately coming out of this, you need to dry everything off. If it's not going to get painted, get oil onto the surface and stop the rust from happening. I'll just use a wire brush to get into all the nooks and crannies and shine it up, make it look really nice. My shop tools, my personal users, I paint with all the exact same Rust-Oleum blue metallic color. I like it. If I want to do a bang-up job on it, I will put some auto primer on first, but most of the time this is good enough to just go. On all of the wood surfaces, I use a boiled linseed oil and paste wax. I'm not a huge fan of the feel of shellac on hand tools. It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like wood in my hand. And I love the feeling of boiled linseed oil and a paste wax finish. It gives a nice look to it and beautiful tools when it's all done. Now it's time to reassemble it. Opposite of taking it all apart, you should have figured it out by now. I put oil on everything, every screw, every hole, all the surfaces get 3-in-1 oil. I'd rather put on too much oil and clean it off and let the cast iron pieces actually have a chance to soak it in. Screw it all back together, pound the pins back into the holes, making sure everything is nice and tight, and you got yourself a new hand drill. And this is just as good as it was originally. Feels good in the hand, runs smoothly, and will last me for another generation or two, probably more. So there is my Craftsman hand drill, and I like this thing. It's got a great motion to it. I've already used it several times, and I've only had it up and running for a couple days. It does have the space for bits in the back. though I don't know if I'm going to put any bits in there or not. I'm really happy with how it came out, especially with the paste wax finish on it. It's got a great feel to it, and works great. So this will serve me for many, many years. And just as a side note, this is something I have wanted for a long time, and I have seen, I don't know how many of them in front of me at garage sales and antique shops, and you know, everywhere I go, I'll see a bunch of these that are for sale, and I've always just passed them up as, oh, I'll get the next one, I'll get the next one. Finally, I was at a garage sale, and I came across this one for $1, and I was like, okay, fine, I had to get it. Now, it was covered in rust and mud and gunk, but don't let that turn you off. A little bit of work and some time and a good bath, and you've got a fun toy on your hands. I absolutely love it, and I hope you do too. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit like and think about subscribing. I want to say a huge thank you to the patrons on Patreon. You guys are absolutely awesome and an amazing encouragement to me. If you did like the video, you might find out you like one of the other videos, and feel free to go check one of those out. Until next time, have a wonderful day.